Welcome to the Building Design Primetime Podcast, focused on providing valuable information for anyone looking to undertake a new build or extension project. We'll share our tips, tricks and stories from a building designer's perspective.
Welcome to the Building Design Primetime Podcast. I'm your host, Amelia, and once again, we're joined by Frank Geskis.
Hey, Amelia. How are we?
Oh, look, I'm a bit upset.
Why are you upset?
Look, I really have to have a hard conversation with you.
Oh, seriously?
We're going to talk about concrete.
That is going to be the worst lead-in ever. Oh, come on.
Did I have anyone worried there for a second?
Air all my dirty laundry about concrete.
It's really hard stuff, isn't it?
Oh,
hard to listen to.
Oh, you're cracking me up. Okay, what do you want to know about concrete? I have a little bit of knowledge in the industry and experiences, and I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly, and what were you thinking?
Yeah, I imagine you have. And look, there's just so much in the way of products available on the market that are based around cement concrete.
Yes.
And what are the pros? What are the cons? What are some options available? Kind of where do you start if for anyone that's looking to start a new build, extension, etc.?
Yeah, fair enough. Well, look, end of the day, concrete's an essential part of what we do here in Tasmania, definitely. Because your floor may be what we call a concrete slab, okay? It's all concrete.
Yeah.
Nice and hard, does its job, happy days. Then you can do things with that slab. But it's not just the slab, it could be just the footings, then you've got bricks, and then you've got a timber floor, so you don't see the concrete. But then you've got a beautiful concrete driveway. And it's been utterly amazing what creativity has been happening with exterior concrete finishes. I know myself, I've got a coloured concrete driveway. You know, we put colour through it.
Yeah, there's heaps of options.
Heaps of
you
colours.
need to look at everyone's driveways, people. There's so
great.
many options.
Exposed aggregate is very popular. So all different types of aggregates, and they blow the top off and you get this pebble finish on it. Or in some cases, like some people like using bluestone, riverstone. I've seen glass. I've seen marbles put into concrete and ground down, so you've got glass in there. All different types of coloured glass too.
Wow.
Yes, yeah. I've seen that in a house that they did it with a colleague of mine. They had a coloured concrete plus an aggregate, and they put the blue. It was just like blue marbles as such in there. Yeah, it was pretty tricky.
Wow,
yeah.
that'd look cool.
Yeah, but there's lots of options of this stuff. Remember the old terrazzos from the 60s? That's coming back in different fashions as well. Looks freaking awesome.
Oh, it looks really cool.
Yeah, and you just go around people's driveways and look at the creativity, because you could stencil it, you can stain it, you can colour it, you can polish it, you can burnish it, you can broom. You put a broom finish, trowel finish, even staining it, or putting all sorts of stuff in the mix to make it look interesting.
Wow.
And some of those things are really hard to do really well, because you only get one crack at this.
Really?
Well, think about it.
You only get one crack.
Yeah.
That
I wonder if you're going to
bad.
pick that up. I reckon you're going to pick that up.
I did well to pick it up for a Friday.
So you just think about it. You've got this concrete mix comes out of the back of a truck, or if they're mixing it on site, and it's going to go off. It's going to set hard. And they've got a certain time frame to get it down, get it all level, and then get the finish right. And that could be after hours or a day or whatever. They've then got to complete the finish on the raw. It could be like in a high pressure cleaner, blow the top off, expose the aggregate. It could be the trowel finish. It could be the polished finish later on, where they've got to grind it or burnish it. What if they're going to stain it? What if they're going to put a product put the stain over the top? Or the stenciling.
Yeah.
So these guys in concreters, they're highly skilled at what they do, concreting. Some of these guys look like they drag their knuckles and, don't have the arse in their jeans. But to be fair, some of these guys are really skilled and really passionate about what they do with concrete. They can read the concrete and how it's going off.
And I imagine the humidity, the moisture level, the weather.
It rains.
Yeah.
The mix, if the mix is wrong, I've seen mixes go wrong and cause all sorts of mayhem.
Really?
Yep. And then you're in big arguments and stuff like that. It dries out too quick. The moisture content's wrong. puts a thing called a plasticizer on it to get it to cure. That's not always perfect. That curing process isn't done well. So I've seen slabs on like a commercial site, one for one building, perfect slab, Mickey Mouse, done as per you'd expect. Other side, looks like crazy paving.
Really?
Yep.
So many variables that affect
different weather.
it. Yeah.
Different weather, different mix, who knows? They said they did exactly the same. Can't answer.
Yeah, that's odd.
So what do you do then when you've got cracks in it?
I don't know what happens.
Well, there are ways of dealing with it, and micro cement, filling it, pressure cleaning it, micro cement it, or sometimes you've got to recoat, put a coating over the top. But it depends what the end use is. So I bet you if you've got a concrete slab for your house and you've got carpet everywhere, pull up your carpet. Actually, don't. But if you did, I'll guarantee you're going to see some hairline cracks in there. It's called shrinkage cracks.
So that's completely normal.
Yeah, pretty normal.
So when should people be worried?
When it gets past 3 millimetres.
Okay.
But there's an Australian standard for crack control as such for concrete.
I'm glad you added for concrete at the end of that sentence.
Yeah, that could have been a bit. So there is an Australian standard which eludes me that you measure the size of the cracks to say, well, that's determined as a shrinkage crack. That is movement. It's cracked through the whole thing. And then this catastrophic, But this is where your local friendly engineer will be able to have that chat.
Yes.
Whoever worked on the project will be able to give that advice. Now, great getting the advice. What do you do afterwards? Well, you've got to determine what it is first before you know what to do. So, you could have, it's called plastic shrinking cracks, drying shrinkage cracks, settlement cracks, or structural cracks. You don't want the structural ones.
I was going to say, they don't sound very good at all.
No, it could be excessive loads or foundation movements. But let's talk about the fun stuff. Make it look nice.
Yes, the fun stuff.
So again, you've got to find a quality concreter who's got well versed and well experienced in doing concrete for you, especially when it's exposed. Because like I said, you get one crack at this. And a lot of times it's exposed. It's in your driveways, it's in your footpaths. You can go in your retaining walls and to your garden beds. But you know where it gets crazy? And you would have seen this, is where people decide to do concrete bench tops for their kitchen or concrete dining tables.
They
or
sound
outdoor,
ridiculously heavy.
Yeah, or, that's right, I forgot to mention this before. I remember doing a house with another designer and we helped arrange a concrete bench for the kitchen. And it was cast on site, so the whole house was polished and whatnot, and then they made all this formwork to make this big concrete bench. Sink was inlaid. The bench went out through the wall of the house and then formed the bench for the barbecue area.
Okay.
And then the window, then the glass met top and bottom, and it looked super trick.
I reckon.
But do you want to like it for a long time?
Yeah, it's not easy to change, is it?
No, well, especially with a big solid lump of concrete, and considering how many certain element of our society wants to have a new kitchen every 10, 20 years, you're stuck with this concrete bench.
Yeah, you definitely want to love it.
Because and then it also controls your whole decor.
It does, yeah.
And if you don't like your kitchen sink that's cast in there.
Bit of a problem there.
It is. So it can be used in so many great places and look amazing. One thing I need to point out, if you're getting a dining table or those types of things, they are usually made in controlled conditions. So the mix is controlled, the temperature's controlled, it's cured. So it's a different process. It's like when you order a precast panel for your house. If a precast panel is something that's made at a factory and it's a panel of concrete. You see lots of warehouses. We've done precast panel houses before too. So all the walls are precast.
Oh, wow.
It's not a bad way of doing it. It's built like a bomb shelter. And then you can bolt the roof off the top of it, windows in. The challenge is how do you insulate it? So then you've got to batten out and line to put the insulation inside.
How would you make it look pretty on a house though? That's what I don't see that as a very pretty finish.
Well, the beauty of precast, if you just look pure trowel finish, no. But why can't you colour it?
Oh, that's true.
Put a texture in it. Because, a lot of these professional precasters have got all these finishes that you can put on the outside.
So you can make it a bit more interesting.
Oh, 100%. But you design the house to be interesting in the first place with those concrete finishes.
Yes.
Now, there's nothing stopping you on certain areas that you don't have the concrete finish and you put another cladding over the top.
Oh, that's a good point too.
But I've also seen the other side where you're doing more conventional construction and you use precast panels as features like around your entry. So you put concrete walls, concrete roofs, that type of stuff, and it forms part of the entry of the house.
That just actually reminded me of really old houses that you probably see around Launceston, and they have that panel like above the front door that's made of concrete.
Yeah, the weatherboard house, and you've got a concrete slab as the entry roof.
Yeah,
you're dead right. There's been heaps of those.
There's so many
and
of
they're
those.
sitting on timber.
Well, if they're
they're sitting on timber.
Really?
So, yeah, serious. You see the ones incorporating concrete, incorporating the brickwork and the concrete, which it's a ring beam around the top. But you see weatherboard houses with a concrete slab.
How is that even holding it up?
Been there for 70 plus years.
So
There's
it must
a lot of
be
these
all
are
right.
post World War II houses.
Yes.
And they're still there.
Yeah, a bit crazy, isn't it?
Well, do it once, do it right.
Yeah, true.
I know it sounds odd, but it's very doable. And you've got to remember the timber they used back then was a lot stronger. They used native Tasmanian hardwoods compared to predominantly we use radiata pine. To be fair, is the greatest product in the world, but it's done for a price point for a build, whereas Tasmanian hardwood, beautiful stuff.
Oh, so good.
But the stuff that we get now is like virtually furniture grade. It's magnificent.
Yeah.
Still not as good as the really old stuff they had. It was from old growth forests.
Yes.
So that has other problems, getting old growth forests. We can't do that anymore.
No, there's definitely limitations.
Nor should we do it anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
So concrete's used in so many crazy ways, and I actually love it in backyard barbecues or al frescoes.
As a slab or?
No, as the bench, and put your barbecue in it.
Oh, that's a good point.
And tables. It looks really good. So, and tell you what's easy to wash, handles the outside really well.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. There's very little maintenance on concrete, really, is that?
Other than you don't want to get the fat spattered from your barbecue on it.
That's no good for it?
Well, think of it. It's like oil on concrete stains.
Oh, yeah, it would.
So you've got to put a sealer on it.
Yes.
One thing I do recommend, I've got to share this story with you, and I might have already, I can't remember, but don't ever do a polished concrete driveway.
I think maybe you've mentioned this before, but I can't remember the reason why.
So think of a driveway going from the street.
Oh, slippery.
Yeah, a little bit of water on polished concrete.
Slippery.
You know, walking your thongs, you'll be flat on your tail really quick.
Yeah, I was actually surprised. One of the houses that we went to visit, probably late last year, inside the garage had polished concrete. And I can imagine you drive in with a car it's been raining outside, it's wet, and you step out. You'd be
lucky to stop the car.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
That's my experience when I went on this driveway. I nearly lost my car into the brand new lawn.
Oh, my goodness.
But I know my own house. I go into my garage, I've just got troweled concrete. I walk in there with thongs, a little bit of water after washing the car, and woohoo!
Yeah, a bit slippery.
It's like an ice skating rink. So you got to be careful with concrete in a lot of ways, and you got to get the right surface. You still got to put protective coatings on it at times as well. The popular thing we have, though, people love the polished concrete in their house.
That's been really popular for flooring, hasn't it?
And some people think it's really cheap.
Oh, it's not cheap.
It's not cheap at all.
No.
No. And you've got different types. You've got pure, where you cut the concrete, and you've got the other ones that you actually burnish the concrete. So you're literally polishing the top buffing it to a gloss.
Yes.
I love that finish. It looks so good.
It does look nice.
A lot of work, and you need some real experts doing that as well. But the expectations, I've got to share expectations of all this too. Concrete is one of those products that, if, like I was saying, it's a wet product, it's curing into something. And if you lose control of the curing, it will potentially have plastic shrinkage cracks or drying shrinkage cracks in there. And you don't want them. But bad luck, you can't help it.
I've got another question for you. What about concrete in a corrosive environment? Like if you were at the beach?
Question. Yeah. You're going to the beach, so it has to be, there's a specification for that. For one thing, you use a higher grade concrete. So normally with houses, 25 MPa, it's classes by strength, MPa. So you've got to start looking at minimum 32 MPa or even greater, because it's a denser concrete, so the salt can't get through. But also how the reinforcement that's put in there is actually encased further inside the concrete. There's greater cover to the concrete to protect the steel, because it is just basically...
Because it would rust, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's what we commonly call as concrete cancer. And you'll see that on old buildings around the water. There's a good chance they may get concrete cancer. And that's where concrete spalls, splits, and you see all this rusty stuff. The salt as such can get in there. Nowadays, we look at stainless or fiberglass reinforcement.
Yeah, there's other options now, isn't there? Yeah.
So if I'm going near the coast, I'd definitely be looking at fiberglass. Mm-hmm. And there is structural fiberglass reinforcement available to be able to do that. So you're not going to have that corrosive challenge.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, but that's a great question. It has to be considered. Now, in saying that's every part of your house when you're in a corrosive environment, all has to be considered on what you use, how you coat things.
Definitely.
Very important.
You can refer back to our hazardous conditions podcast.
Oh, wow.
Recently.
How long ago was that?
That was only a couple of podcasts ago.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, building near the coast. There you go. So with concrete, do your research on what you like for your finish. Could be inside your house, could be your paths, could be your driveway, could be inside your garage. You might have a feature wall. It is utterly amazing the variety of things that can be done in concrete. One of the best examples, concrete is used a lot in commercial buildings, so your public buildings. So if you go out to, well, I could say any city, anywhere, there's concrete or stone, but you use a lot of concrete, and it's really, I love some of the creative way they use it in landscaping, public spaces, buildings, especially in the foyers and things like that.
So when is it important that a concreter consult a structural engineer?
Or when it's actually a structural application.
Because I can imagine sometimes, obviously for the obvious things like flooring, that's all done beforehand.
It's designed. Has to be designed.
But
yes.
what if you're a landscaper and you're organising a base for a sculpture or something weird like that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you go
surely.
well, then you'd be talking to a structural engineer about, well, what's it holding? Same with a retaining wall. It's holding back the earth and any moisture behind there. It's got to hold all that back.
I wonder whether actually landscapers
The quality
would
landscapers do.
Yeah.
The real quality ones definitely do. I know that because they want the stuff to last. So it's for them to... See, that's also down to who designs it originally. Is it a landscape architect designing it? Now, if it is, they do the right thing and get retaining walls designed and certified. Because retaining walls, just a tip there, if you got a retaining wall, it has to have a level of certification. Because how do you know it's going to hold?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, but there's certain manufacturers and block manufacturers, so digressing here, and I'll make a shout out to one of our local manufacturers who's done really cool things and cool products, is Island Block and Pavings. They have a magnificent range of products, including recycled glass in their concrete block products. Looks amazing. They have retaining walls, call it buy off the shelf, that already are pre-engineered, and they have conditions in there, and they tell you how to build a retaining wall up to a maximum height, and I think it's about 1.1 metres. So, and they are generally quite suitable for a lot of applications. Okay. But when you're building something from scratch, like out of, hey, I want a concrete finished retaining wall, it has to have a level of engineering because you've got to put the reinforcement in. Same with concrete block walls, just straight blocks that are stacked on top of each other and you fill it with concrete, well, they've got to have reinforcement in there.
Sure.
But that reinforcement all has to tie into a footing.
Yeah, that's true. It's all the footing, the foundation of it all.
So whatever's pushing on the back, it's got to hold whatever it's being pushed by. Mm-hmm. Then it's just as critical to get the drainage right on those as well.
Sure.
So again, concrete's involved in all of those things.
Yeah. What about the different types of concrete?
Yep.
Like I know there's products out there that are a little bit more environmentally friendly, like you've got, I think it's called hempcrete or...
Oh, that's a very different product.
It doesn't have concrete in it?
You're catching me on the hop there. I've seen a couple of buildings put together where they've done hempcrete and it looks utterly amazing. The formula and stuff they use eludes me. Tell you what, There's a big push for that in Tasmania. There's the Hempcrete guys in Tasmania. We need to get them on the show.
We need to get them on here, don't we?
Yeah, it'd be fascinating. I've seen a couple of their builds, and yeah, it's a very cool product.
And there are other types of concrete you can get too, isn't there? Or am I wrong in saying that? No?
Well, like what in particular? What are you thinking? You've got the concrete you can order from your batch plant,
Yeah.
the back of a concrete truck, and you order all these different mixes with colours and stuff. You can order with aggregate. Usually comes from a batching plant, and
Okay.
there's multiple manufacturers. There's plenty of guys that make it themselves, but everyone seems a bit lazy compared to 40 years ago. Have the concrete mixer and a barra.
Yeah.
Yet, I've got to say though, back in Depression, between the world wars, people come out. The amount of places I've seen where people mix their own concrete by hand in a barra, and they've built the most amazing structures.
Oh, yeah.
Remember a place down the Tamar River here, and there was a jetty, and it was all concrete.
Oh, that's
It
crazy.
was, but it wasn't a little thing; it was huge. But it was all out of the river pebble, out of the Tamar.
Oh, that would look awesome.
Well, I suppose it kind of does, but it looked really rough. It wasn't well finished. But then we ended up working on the house, and the house was all built out of concrete. All the walls,
Oh, really?
subfloor walls, everything. It was all hand mixed. The chimney,
Really?
everything was all hand mixed. This guy just mixed it by hand, and when you stripped away certain parts, you could see how he poured the concrete in layers. But it's just one barrow at a time.
Oh, man.
No concrete pumps. Here he is. He would have got the bucket, go up his scaffold, pour it in,
Oh,
vibrate
that guy,
it in.
he's probably got a terrible back now.
Oh, he's probably built like an ox.
Probably.
There was no such thing as a concrete pump, 100 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
Grab a bucket, grab a shovel, get on with it. They didn't have any money.
Yep, that's
But
true.
they had the sense, they had the brawn, I'm going to build my house.
And it was probably a pretty cheap way of doing it back then.
Yeah, well, quite possibly could
Yeah.
be. Yeah, it must have been because, I remember when we did this renovation, because we had to cut holes through the wall and we had to get a concrete cutter in, and it was hard as nails because it was aged quite well, and it was right next to the Tamar River, so it handled the moisture, not so much salt on the Tamar River, it's more of an estuary. So, it handled it quite well.
Yeah, right.
No, very few cracks in it. It was built like I said, a bomb shelter.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it was very cool. But all the paths, everything, it's like all done by hand.
That's so cool.
It is. And you'll find a lot of stuff of that age everywhere, even public works, like council, public works, government, were mixed by hand.
Crazy.
But that's what it was. That's
Not
what
anymore.
was expected.
Not anymore.
Oh, no.
Easy
I
now.
can't wheelbarrow that. I've got to get a concrete pump.
Oh, look, you probably got to have 10 certificates for safety and everything now to do it manually.
Yeah, well, fair point. Yes.
All right, so what are the take-home points for anyone looking to invest in some concrete products on their house, in their house?
Well, what's the take home? Well, you got to talk to your builder and and your expectations of what you want. And the most normal thing is, I want this style driveway, footpaths. I want this polished concrete in my house, all burnished. I want to have a concrete bench. I want to have a concrete feature wall, concrete retaining walls, paths, whatever. There's heaps and heaps of stuff to do out of concrete. You've got to work with the builder, and they've got to find experienced concreters that know how to do this stuff and making sure they understand they're going to meet your requirements, because it's very custom, this stuff.
Yeah. We might need a concreter come on the show as well.
Yeah, true. Someone who's done this stuff.
Yeah.
But I think the hempcrete one's an interesting one.
That is a very interesting one. Stay tuned. We might be able to get someone in on that.
Yes, definitely.
All right, we might wrap it up there, folks. Thanks for listening to the Building Design Primetime podcast.
Catch us later.
You're listening to the Building Design Primetime podcast.